Attention. Go.
So all that training, all that hard work, long hours in the gym and on the water. It's been a tough year for students in the classroom and out of the classroom. And now they could really put a flourish to the finish of the year by booking a place in a Henley final in the next 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah, really aggressive start there from Surbiton, really going for it straight away, not pacing themselves, just attacking the very first stroke. LEH had a brutal race yesterday. It was in half a length the whole way down against Shrewsbury and winning purely by canvas. They really had a hard race at the headwind yesterday. And here, straight away, doing a good job getting out to a canvas lead from Surbiton.
Here's the camera on the back station, LEH. A good start. Oh, there's nothing in it, is there? It's such a tight start. Surbiton, you said this was going to be a good race, and nothing I've seen so far is changing my mind on that.
That's great, just on the side shot there. It looked like Surbiton were just starting to maybe inch back on LEH. But there we go, it looks like they slightly got a lead, but the momentum, I think, is going to shift a few times during this race. They're not going to let them get away with anything.
And just talk us through the two bikes on the back. Are we looking at coaches there or connections? Anyone allowed to shout instructions? Because if you're in the umpire launch as a coach, you're not allowed to give any sort of advice at all, are you? Whereas if you're on the bank on a bike, you're permitted to do what you like, but you're taking your life in your hands with cycling along at that speed.
Especially on that towpath. It's treacherous on that side of the towpath. Yeah, the coaches do go along and they feel they can have an impact. To be honest, I'm not sure the athletes can hear them very much when they're out there racing, doing their thing, but you're right, from the launch they can say nothing, but here on the side they can see the race a bit better and hope they can have some sort of impact on what they're doing. And it looked like Surbiton had gone out hard and found their transition earlier, and then LEH, their transition nicely, was starting to gain again. It looks like here they're just pegging now, going the same speed. This is going to be an awesome race.
It really is, yeah. Surbiton High School ahead just, but here come LEH again to try and get back absolutely level. Yes, it's a really interesting point about the coaches shouting and whether they can actually be heard, and even if they can be heard, whether the rowers take any notice of them or not. It's a bit like the football managers who stand there with 60,000 fans behind them screaming at the player on the far side of the pitch. I often think it's just to make them feel better.
I think there's a big part of that, to be honest.
Cathartic.
Totally agree. Exactly. And also down here you can see how close we are at the moment to the towpath. And now as we come into Remenham, the course moves a long way away from the towpath, so actually it's very quiet out for the athletes, and the coach's voice will not be heard over there. And there becomes lots of crowds and congestion of people, so they won't be able to keep up on it, I should think. It looks like Surbiton here have moved out to maybe half a length.
So Surbiton going well. Having a look at the ages and careers of these rowers. They'll be learning an enormous amount from this experience, won't they?
They certainly will. Surbiton yesterday took a slight lead against Green Lake in the US and hung on there pretty well to the barrier. Managed to pull away and actually won by 2.25 lengths by the end. So they had a relatively easier path to get here today.
Yeah, LEH, as you mentioned, Adrian, earlier, both crews level down at the island on this was Friday yesterday. Shrewsbury warned at the top of the island, very close racing down the middle course. And then a good race until the end, and that will have taken its toll, but then they're putting in a good shift here.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was the race of the day, I thought, yesterday. The crews really were just so courageous, both crews, and really nobody gave up on either of the crews. In fact, one of the girls from the Shrewsbury crew had a bit of a fit afterwards, and the coach had to row them into the pontoon. That's how hard the race had been. Surbiton here seems to be taking advantage of those many slightly tired legs in the LEH crew and moving out to maybe a length's lead. Really solid rhythm. Cox now at LEH really needs to get their crew just to tidy up everything they're doing, be more in unison, just try and be courageous enough to try and get back on terms, because it's a long way to go. It's almost 2 lengths of a single scull for 1 length of an 8. It's a long way to row back.
Well, the crowds are building. It's still relatively early, just gone 10 o'clock UK time, and it's early for the crowds to be out, but there'll be lots of supporters on the bank, judging by the volume as they move in front of the enclosures, these two boats, and Surbiton will be enjoying it more than LEH at this stage, because LEH more than a length down.
And these are 2 medal-winning crews from national schools coming here on semi-finals day in Henley. It looks like maybe LEH starting to gain a little bit of momentum and try and get back on terms, but they really are going to have to put something absolutely exceptional in now to row that whole length back down in closures.
You talked about recovery. It's going to be a theme throughout today. We'll be talking about that, how well they can deal with round after round. Does it depend on what time of day you're out on the water? So if you've got a 9 o'clock outing yesterday and you've had a full 24, 25 hours to recover, as opposed to somebody who was racing yesterday afternoon, I know largely they try and make it fairly even, but if you get an extra hour or two, it could make a bit of difference.
I think the hour or two might not make a huge difference, but if you were like first race in the morning and the first race after lunch, it's 6 hours.
Yeah,
that could make an impact.
I think they try and arrange a timetable to avoid that.
Yeah, they try to bat. And again, as you come in towards the finals, it gets harder to do that, doesn't it? Because the calendar just condenses. But yeah, here at length, it looks Surbiton really are done a job, I think, on LEH. Looks like just have a bit more. She seems a bit more lively, a bit more on top of the work, really. LEH just looks like they're just finding a little bit heavy going through the water.
Just thinking beyond rowing for the school, the impact this will have for the school. And, you know, if you're a school trying to get a reputation as being on the rowing circuit, you get your boat into a final at Henley, that's going to be a huge plus, huge tick in the box for the school of Surbiton in this case.
Yeah, they're a very, very
big
new,
moment for the
very
school,
big
isn't it?
New rowing program for them. It really does puts them on the map in terms of people who want to. It's quite an aspirational sport within schools, and all the schools put it on their curriculum because it's good for the prospectus and makes people want to come to their schools. But the fact that they're successful, and also for the younger kids in the school, the younger girls in the school, they'll realise this is something I want to be part of. It's a successful program, we're winning things. Kids like to win stuff, don't they?
Certainly do. Surbiton being told to get back onto their side, onto the Berkshire station. You can see them now doing that. The cocks, the work cut out. Surbiton's cocks there. Russell, the cocks, just getting the boat back on it. Silly to happen now with the steering. That's going to cost them a little bit in time, but not enough from the perspective of LEH, who have too much to do.
The requirement by the umpire is to make sure it's obvious that we're making a correction, and she definitely made it clear that she'd heard him and moving back onto her station.
Well, their work is done. Half a dozen more strokes until they get to that finish line, until they book their place in the final at Henley Regatta. Well done to Surbiton High School in the Junior Women's 8, the inaugural competition, new for 2021, and the first name into the final is Surbiton High School. They're into the final at Henley Regatta. Celebrations for them, and commiserations LEH, who gave it a good go, but the celebration, Julian there, look at that, great to see. They know what they've just achieved.